So, hi guys, welcome to the another podcast with us. So, today is a very special podcast with us because today we have an eminent guest with us, Mr. Erik, who is the president of ACIR, which is Alliance for Commercialization and Innovation Research. And he also runs a program in Nexus as an executive director. So, for more information and for better brief about Mr. Erik, I'll hand over the mic to you, sir. Over to you. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thank you. You're very kind and very glad to be here. As he mentioned, I am the director of the Alliance of Commercialization and Innovation Research. We run the program Nexus, which is a pre-incubation program for startups here in India. It's 100% supported by the U.S. government. We're based in New Delhi, but we work with startups from all over India to help them grow, to help them get funding, to help them be successful in the market. We've been here for about 5 years now. We started in 2017. We've now graduated 17 cohorts, over 194 startups. And the whole point for us is to teach best practices of incubation, entrepreneurship, technology commercialization. So having the American best practices put together with Indian best practices so that those Indian startups can take their ideas to the market and be successful. So that is what I do here in India. And I've been here for the last 5.5 years.
So before we start off with the questions and everything, first of all, I would like to know, how does it feel to be in India, and like, what is your experience in India?
It's been extremely positive. I mean, from a work perspective, as you know, India is one of the top 3 innovation and startup ecosystems in the world. So that is one of the reasons the U.S. government put this Nexus program here. It is the unique in the entire world. It was a pilot program and became so successful that we've now grown for 5 years. But so professionally, of meeting startups from all over the country, all different regions, geographies, all different industries, has been fascinating. And India, besides having their own strong innovation ecosystem, as you know, plays a very strong role in the United States in its startups and in businesses. If you look at like Silicon Valley, who are the top CEOs, they're from India as well. So my experience in India from a professional point of view has been great. I've been very happy that I've been able to travel to different areas around India. So I really like traveling a lot. Delhi as the capital is, I think, it's either number 1 or 2. I think it just surpassed Bangalore as the number 1 startup place in India. So again, that's great. And it's the history and the food and people are so exciting and interesting and friendly. Delhi itself as a city, it has its challenges, as we know. So being here 5 years now, knowing the different periods of the pollution or some of the population and the traffic, sure. Those are challenges. But overall, my experience in India has been great. And I'm here with my family. So I think that is proof that for me, it's been worth it, both from my professional point of view and personal, to be here in India.
And how is India treating you, sir? With the traffic, with the spicy food and everything?
Well, I always say that, I'm from Texas. I'm from Austin, Texas, which is the capital of Texas. So we have a lot of Tex-Mex food, which is spicy. But Indian spice takes it to a new level, right? Yeah. And northern India is not so bad. I think as you get further south, it gets a bit more spicy. So usually when I'm ordering food, and I like Indian food or the different types of Indian food from different regions, usually I'll say I don't mind a little spice, but a little spice for an American as opposed to a little spice for an Indian, because again, the levels are quite different. But in general, of course, Indian people are very friendly, very hospitable. Most people I meet have relatives that have studied in the United States, that work in the United States, that travel in the United States. So there's a very, I think, a deep connection between the Indian people and the American people. And my experience here has been very, very positive.
Thank you so much, sir. So there is also a saying in India that is Atithi Devo Bhava, which is like the guests are like God for us. So it's a pleasure that you have liked India as of now, and you are feeling good and everything.
Absolutely.
So sir, talking something about some serious stuff, which is when you see as a professional person, as a professional person to India and Delhi, what are the key area of opportunities which you find, like, okay, these are some factors or these are some segments in which India can grow, or India has potential to grow in?
I mean, that's one of the reasons I think India is one of the top startup and innovation centers around the world, is because a couple of things. One, there's 1.4 billion people in India. So if you create a solution to whatever problem in whatever sector, you have a market that is going to be big enough to support and scale that. And because India is such a, in general, a price sensitive country, I always say that if you can grow it and scale it here in India, you can bring these to other places of the world without a problem. So that's a great opportunity for entrepreneurs, is that if you make it here, you can much easier for you to take that solution, to take that business and grow around the world, whether it's just South Asia, or whether you're going to Europe, or whether you're going to the United States. Regarding sectors, that is one of the things that has been exciting to us. Our incubator, our program here for Indian startups, we don't focus on one sector. We focus on the business aspects, but we were called sector agnostic. So regardless of the sector that you're in, whether it's renewable energy, whether it's material science, whether it's medical, telecommunications, all of these would be acceptable for us. And the reason is because India is such a large country, and there is such a large amount of people, 1.4 billion people, that there are challenges in all of these aspects. So whether it's in the urban cities or whether it's in the tier 3 or 4 smaller cities, there are challenges there that as India grows, it's still coming to grips with. And from a business perspective, from an entrepreneur perspective, those challenges are huge opportunities. So we see these different innovative solutions coming from all over the country on, improving some of the educational systems, or helping people with health solutions that are maybe not in the large cities, environmental issues, renewable energy and batteries for cars or two-wheelers or three-wheelers. So I guess to answer your question is that, where do we see opportunity? I've seen opportunity everywhere here. It's extremely exciting. It's extremely dynamic marketplaces. There are, of course, large world-leading companies doing out of India, but there's a lot of space in all of the different sectors that I have seen, that there's opportunity there for entrepreneurs. And so that's very exciting that these are still wide open for people to grow and have their companies be successful. So for us as an entrepreneur, myself, and as an incubator, we don't limit ourselves to one sector, because in India, there are so many opportunities in all these different sectors.
Right, sir. Correct. So what I also wanted to ask you on a personal level, and also for the better understanding of audiences, so entrepreneurs, startups, business incubators, all these things have taken a boom in India suddenly. Like if you talk and specifically if we talk about from the pandemic area, these things have taken a boom. Now there are startups, now there are entrepreneurs everywhere where you can find. That is a very good thing. So what I want to ask you, and what I wanted to know, that what are those key factors, or what are those key major points an entrepreneur should have in mind before they think of even being an entrepreneur? And also for the college students who are in colleges right now, and they think that I will be making a startup in next 5 years or 10 years. So what are those key major points they should have in mind?
No, that's a very good question. And as you said, entrepreneurship, incubation have become very popular now. It's a very popular term. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, right? The good thing is that now there is a lot of government attention on this, and there are many government schemes to help entrepreneurs with funding, with incubation, maybe protecting their intellectual property and patents, trying to get some different compliances, make it easier for entrepreneurs. These are all good things. On the bad side is that you see suddenly instant experts suddenly arrive, right? That 5 years ago, they were completely different. And now, because it's so popular, suddenly I'm an expert in entrepreneurship, right? I'm a valued mentor, or I'm an investor, when they really don't have that kind of expertise. So the first thing I would say is, when you are looking as an entrepreneur, or you want to become an entrepreneur, and you get you have a great maybe idea, and people are coming to you with support or with help or want to invest or invite you to their incubator. Do your research first. Don't just jump at the first opportunity. Find out exactly what they're going to be providing to you and what value that provides to you. Do you actually need that help right now? Or is that something that maybe is later in your journey for investment, for example? So, as you're starting as an entrepreneur, there are lots of opportunities out there from government schemes, from private schemes, from entrepreneurs, other entrepreneurs. Just be careful and make sure that the help they are offering to you is something that you need and is very specific and practical. Because they will normally be asking you either for some money or maybe what we call equity, which is part of your company. Maybe it's convertible debt, so they're asking you to do these things. And you want to make sure that what you're giving up, which may not seem like much right now, will mean a lot later on when your company grows. So make sure the value they're giving you is worth it. But when we talk to, if you say my number one advice or rule for entrepreneurs when they're starting out, whether they should decide to do a startup or not, whether they want to launch into this new entrepreneurial area or not. The number one thing I want to talk about is most of the companies that come to us are technology based. That doesn't mean it's high technology, but there's some kind of innovation there, and that's great. These new kinds of ways of making something faster, better, cheaper, those are all good. But don't forget that it's from a customer's point of view. It's really not about the technology. It's about the problem you are solving for that customer. And as entrepreneurs, sometimes we get so in love with our technology that we've been spending maybe years on developing, getting a prototype, tweaking, improving, building a second prototype, that we forget the fundamental question is it's not about that equipment. I mean, that is important, but the real important is how do I solve the problem for my customer? So for any entrepreneur out there or want to be entrepreneur, when you're thinking about this, focus and say, what is the problem for my customer I'm really trying to solve here? And is that problem painful enough that they're willing to pay for it? Is it big enough that it's not just the 5 or 10 people I know who are my colleagues or my friends, my family, that this is a problem that's widespread enough that other people in different cities or in different regions, different states would also be willing to pay for? And finally, if those are all yes, that is a big problem, and I have this technology that will solve that problem. The next question is, okay, is your solution better than what solutions are there in the marketplace now? Now we're talking about competition. But the idea of focusing not on the technical aspects, but on what problem am I solving for my customer, and how is my solution, my service, my software, my hardware, my piece of equipment, how is my solution better than how people are solving that problem now? That's probably the 1 or 2 top questions I would ask for any startup that is either coming to our incubator or is just coming to me to ask for advice about whether I should launch a company or not. And those very fundamental basic questions sometimes can tell you a lot about the future of your prospective business.
Understood. Understood, sir. So in continuation to that, what you have said, for now, like we were talking about the general aspect of what an entrepreneur should have or should think before they start up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, sir, let's talk about you, in fact, for now, like
Sure.
when a company comes to you or when a startup comes to you, so how are you helping them to basically bring new ideas and commercialize, in fact, if we say? So how are you playing that part?
Sure. So it would be less about me giving them a new idea. That's not what we're here for. I mean, they usually have the ideas, right? They're saying, this is what I think we should do. And I am not here to say, this is a good idea or this is a bad idea. That's kind of a subjective answer, and that's not my role. And my opinion may be different than other people's opinion. What we do here at the incubator and what our role is, not just me, but our mentors, our network, our whole program, our curriculum, it's all about saying, okay, you have this idea. Is this a good business idea? Is this an investable idea for outside investors? Is this a scalable idea? I mean, can we grow this so that we can become bigger and bigger? But we focus on the business aspect. So that is the number one thing that we will help customers And whether those be startups or whether other incubators, whether they're professors who want to start up a new technology, that's what we focus on. And that's what the vast majority of our support is having them understand what this technology, this solution, this idea, what that would look like from a business perspective. So, and many people have fantastic ideas. They're very passionate about what they do, but they haven't thought it through of what the business would look like, whether that's what how we would price this, what our competitors look like, how do we defend against other competitors? Have we spoken to enough customers that actually focusing on what their problem is? What do the finances look like? What's the business model look like? Do we sell this? Do we rent this out? Are we going through different agents? These kind of questions are what we'll be going over. Do they understand the basic finances of a startup? Not that we try to make you a CA, but do you understand the basics of how your company works and the profit model of how your company works? For those that are a little bit more advanced, who are looking to get outside funding from investors, right? So this would be angel investors or maybe even venture capitalists. Then we talk to them about that and help them understand the point of view of those investors. So what those investors would want and are looking for when they invest in startups. It's not just coming in and say, oh, that's a wonderful idea, and they write you a check for 4 crore. That's not what happens, right? So understanding and meeting those investors and understanding their problems and how they work and how structurally helps our startups get funded a lot better. And finally, once we have all of that, I mean, there is the pitching aspect, right? How to communicate about what your startup is, what it can do, and why it's important, again, either to an investor or to the government or to your customer. So all of these aspects are things that we will go over in our program for Nexus. And again, the Nexus program is a very intense 9-week program here in New Delhi that we go through to cover. Each week we'll cover a different aspect. And at the end, of course, we will invite and introduce you to different investors and to our network. So that is the kind of support and the kind of help that we do. And it's been very, very successful. We start out, like I said, the first year, this was a pilot program, hoping just to say, hey, let's introduce ourselves. And people asked a question. They said, look, there are plenty of incubators in India. There are plenty of accelerators. There are plenty of co-working spaces. Why is this different? And we said, look, from what I understand, when I went around the country and I looked at some incubator spaces, beautiful spaces, very nice, crores of money put on the buildings here and, great spaces. But they weren't what we would call in the United States an incubator. It was more like co-working space. And maybe, once a month they have a mentor come in or like a TEDx talk or something like that. And that's perfectly fine. In a growing ecosystem like India, there's room for all types of support for entrepreneurs, but that's not what we would really call an incubator. So we want to bring kind of the American version of some best practices of incubators and show it here and work with our Indian partners to try to use those methods. And I think they've been very, very successful. As we mentioned, I mean, we've graduated now 17 cohorts. That's 194 startups that have come through us. They've gone on to raise an outside funding over $40 million. So I think that's about 30 crore. So what we've been able to show with our partners and our curriculum, I think, has a very practical and real effect on our startups being able to grow, being able to connect and have contracts with U.S. companies and large Indian companies, or bring investment in from different levels of investment, whether those are government grants or they're outside investments like angels or VCs, or from corporate strategic partners. So the results are there to see, and we think that it's been quite successful. We're very happy with the impact we've had here in India.
That has given me the answer to my question, that please tell the audience about the Nexus. You have pretty well explained that already. So also for a startup, yes, revenue and growth and everything is important. But what is the most important thing for a startup is to be sustainable in the market. So how to create a sustainable startup from scratch. Let's say if I just have an idea, so how to create that sustainable startup which can give me good returns in future.
Sure. No, and that's a great question. I mean, you can have the best idea in the world, but if you can't be sustainable financially, after 6 months, you go out of business, right?
Right.
And it's very, very rare for an investor to come in when you just start and say, "Oh, I love this. Here's 50 lakh of investment." That doesn't happen. So how do we grow our company to be at least sustainable or break even at the very least, so that we can continue to grow and have our impact, and then go to a different size? And that is part of what we talk about. So our philosophy at Nexus is, we try not to focus too much on the outside funding. Now, I said, it's worked out very well. Our companies have done very well. I think I've said they've raised over 50 or 60 crore in funding, but we try not to focus on the funding. And I think in India, there's way too much focus on outside funding as a goal in and of itself. And our philosophy is, look, funding is just a tool. It is a tool to get you from here to here. And it can get you faster there, and it can get you, it can absolutely accelerate that process, but it is not a goal by itself. The goal is to grow your company, first be sustainable, as you said, and then grow. So our philosophy is very much focusing on what we call bootstrapping, growing organically, which means you're going to have your company grow from the revenues it earns from your first customers. So we focus a lot on that. And it's like, hey, other accelerators or incubators may talk about, hey, how do I get from 1,000 customers to 5,000 customers so I can get my, VC funding? We're like, our philosophy is, look, that's okay, but you're never going to get to 1,000 customers if we don't get the first 10 customers. Right. So let's work on that. And if you have 10, let's work on the first 30 or 40. The other parts we can work on structurally about how to get to the larger scale, but you got to be sustainable now. We say cash is king for startups. You got to have that cash flow, and you got to run your business in a way that at least you can break even. So there is no one magic answer of, oh, you do this one weird trick and you're sustainable. That's not how it happens. But going through the fundamentals of knowing your business, knowing your customer, knowing your business model, is absolutely at the core of what we do here at Nexus over this 9 weeks, with ourselves, with international experts, with workshops, with Indian experts. This is kind of the backbone of what we teach startups, of how to grow and be sustainable. And then later, if you want, we'll talk about the extra outside funding.
Understood, sir. So let's suppose I have a startup and I want to get connected to Nexus. So what is the process? How can a person or an idea or a business get connected to Nexus and have that opportunities?
So if you, first of all, you can just go to our webpage. So it's www.startupnexus.in, right? .in. That's our webpage. All the programs that we do are listed there. As I said, we're right in the middle now of our 17th cohort. That'll graduate in March 30th. Our next cohort will be coming up in early fall, and we will absolutely advertise when those applications are there. So everybody is absolutely welcome to apply for this. You will take a look and we will show you not the criteria, but what the best match is for companies that we select, startups that we select into Nexus. I do say it is very competitive. We choose for each cohort about 15 to 16 startups, and we get about 10 to 12 applications for every one that we accept. But again, we're open to everybody. It doesn't matter regarding the sector. As long as you have something innovative, we're happy to talk to you. And if you look at the webpage and you're not quite sure, you're just like, I'm not sure if my startup actually fits this, you can absolutely send us an email and we'll answer your questions. What's interesting, what's not, what we think will be strong points of yours. There is no secret here. It's very transparent. Additionally, if you've got a startup and you're already doing, maybe you've already got your prototype, maybe you've got a couple customers, and you say, look, I've got invitations from 3 incubators, right? I work at this university, I'm an IIT Kanpur, any one of these incubators. And so why should I come to Nexus? Well, if you can, on our startup page, you can take a look at every cohort that we've gone through, 16, and we list all the startups of our portfolio. You can take a look and see if you find a startup that is in your sector, more or less. Contact us. We'll give you their contact information. Talk to them directly and ask them, is it worth it? Not worth it. Again, we have nothing to hide and we're very transparent. We don't pretend that we can do everything for everybody. We focus on one sector that we think of business incubation, and we think we do it very well. But again, our opinion is one thing. Talk to our customers, talk to our startups, talk to our partners. And if you think it is actually adds value to your startup, please, we'd be happy and glad to look at your application and accept you into the Nexus family. Because this is a program that is 100% supported by the U.S. government, there is no fee for the Nexus program. We don't take any equity from your company. There are no commissions. You graduate, you pay none of that. It's 100% free. So the opportunity, the experts, the training that you will get through Nexus for free is kind of an amazing deal for startups. And we encourage you to take part of it, talk to the other startups, talk to our partners, and we think you'll be impressed as we are about how we've been able to impact Indian startups. But again, www.startupnexus.in is our webpage.
Sure, sir. I'll mention that in the description box below and also in the subtitles as well.
You
So
can look at, one last thing is you can also, we have it on Facebook, we have it on Twitter as well. So if you search there, also you can find Nexus.
That's awesome. I'm sure that all the audience who is watching this podcast will take a note of this. And I think personally, sir, there's a great initiative for all the startups and for all the growing business ideas and for the college students as well. Absolutely. Who are planning to build their startups. Initiatives like this will give them a push.
Absolutely.
So sir, if you are okay to tell, like if it's not a what you can say, a private or a personal question, that how many startups have been benefited by it?
So again, we've graduated, if we just talk about our incubation program, which is this 9-week program, we've graduated 194 startups. Now we've done other workshops across India, shorter workshops. We're in the middle right now of doing some workshops for women entrepreneurs, specifically in climate change. We did some in Andhra Pradesh. We've done some workshops in Maharashtra, typically 2 to 3 day workshops. So those kind of workshops, and we've done industry workshops, connecting startups to industry partners, specifically in specific sectors like aerospace. We did one for there. Climate change, we've done ones from there. So for those workshops, there have been literally hundreds of startups that we've worked with, again, from all across India. But if we just talk about the 9-week program, which is the core main program that we do at Nexus here in New Delhi, again, we've graduated 194 startups since 6 years ago. Not all those startups are still alive. That's the nature of a startup, is that it's risky. And I think there are some crazy statistics in the United States and in India that 75% of startups will die within the first 3 years. So of the 194, we've got about 170 that are still operating and growing. So that success rate already tells you that it's much better than the average startup that didn't go through an incubator. Some of our startups, again, are much larger, have gone internationally, have signed international deals, have received millions of dollars in VC funding. And that's great. We love them. Some of our startups have been acquired by other companies. And great. Again, that's a wonderful thing. Some of our startups have done well just on a local level. Maybe now they've got 10 or 20 staff. Maybe they're at a crore or two, per year revenues. And again, for us, that's perfectly fine. These kind of small businesses are the ones that create the job engine growth and bring in new revenues, not only in India, but in the United States. It's the small businesses that do this. So we're just as happy when a small company goes from, hey, I have an idea. Me and my batchmate from university, they go through Nexus. 6 months later, they say, look, I've got 10 employees now, right? And I'm profitable and I'm growing. That also to us is a huge success story. So from just the 9-week program, we've got about 170 companies that are still alive and growing and doing very well. From the workshops and the other programs that we do, it's literally hundreds of startups that have gone through there.
So startups, businesses come with an opportunity of employability to the students, if we say. And if we talk about employability, the startup which is booming again in a sector is edtech, education technology,
Sure.
which is a concept, or which you can say is a practice which has been taken step from the pandemic, because many of the students were not able to go to the colleges or tuitions. So they started taking from home, and many edtechs started to grow at that time. So they are giving a lot of opportunities, employability, like in form of internships or placements to the students. So, sir, according to you, how are these edtechs being able to give the opportunity to students? Like, if you talk about Shark Tank India, if you have heard about that, it's an initiative to help the entrepreneurs for basically giving them the equity or business ideas.
Yep.
Also, there are companies which are having, if I talk about, there is a company called Uniconverse Technologies, which is opening a segment called Ticket to Corporate, which is able to like help the students to get a ticket to corporate by providing them with assistance. So how are these programs in according to you, how are these programs going to help the students?
Sure. Well, thanks. And first, I want to give a shout out. You mentioned, do I know Shark Tank India?
Yeah.
And I do. And several of our Nexus companies have been on Shark Tank. And so I just want to give a shout out because I think it was just last week, one of our companies, u.s.a, was on Shark Tank and just received some equity, some funding for their equity and some convertible debt from them. So, congratulations to them. Shark Tank, of course, is a TV show, so they don't choose everybody, but we're very happy that several of our Nexus startups have actually gone to Shark Tank and been chosen for investment. And the last one I said was u.s.a, so congratulations to them. But to your point regarding EdTech and how does it help students? You're absolutely right that EdTech is one of the largest opportunities, I think, in India. We've seen that culturally, India is a country, one of the biggest countries around the world, that they absolutely very strongly will invest in education. Right. Families will spend their whole amount of thing to bring their child to the best universities or the best training they can do that. And that's an opportunity. So we've seen that a lot, and I've seen quite a few amount of startups. And we know, of course, the big startups that have already done very, very well in education technology here in India. But we do see now this broadening out. So it's not just tutoring now. It's not just online classes. There are those and there are opportunities. But specifically what you're saying, how can we help students? I have seen a lot of interesting EdTech platforms that will offer internships, that will connect them to corporates and say, hey, we will do some training programs, certifications that will help you get a job. We've seen companies come to us and say, look, we hire software engineers or mechanical engineers or whatever. There are different things. And they say the problem for us is that when they graduate, they have interesting theoretical knowledge, but they don't really have the practical knowledge of what we do with our customers on a day-to-day basis. So we have seen EdTech startups go and say, look, we will offer some certification programs combined with industry. So if you're a graduate or even when you're in your last year of university, you come with us, do this online program. The curriculum, the test, the practical knowledge comes from our industry partners. And once you graduate from that, or when you get the certificate, then you have a much, much higher chance of getting placed at those companies because they know they don't have to train you just as much. Your now level is up here compared to your co-batchmates, which just have the theoretical knowledge. So I think the growth of EdTech, specifically of linking corporates to university graduates, college graduates, is very, very strong. And I see that as a very big growth area because there are so many sectors you can do it in, right? Mechanical engineering, construction companies, software, coding. I mean, there's so many different areas where there's still that gap. between what happens after you graduate and what you really need those skills to be successful in that industry. And so for me, I think we've seen quite a few of those in very different high-tech jobs, low-tech jobs. And I think that could be a very promising continuation of the ed tech growth and something really interesting for students in universities of how that can help them. So there's the second area of going of how can I do better at my classes, right? How can I get tutoring? How can I get preparation for exams? All those are true. But what you mentioned about the corporate connecting for placements or internships to the university students, that to me has been one of the most exciting developments in ed tech we've seen.
Absolutely, sir. And also, if I tell that if anyone watches this podcast, I think this podcast, whatever Erik sir is saying, can be a guiding note to you. Like these all things which Erik sir is saying, these can be some key major points which all of you people who are planning to build a startup or are having a building idea, it can help you immensely. So coming to the last question of, and to wrap up my podcast, if there is a message which you would want to give to the students or slash entrepreneurs or anyone, what will be that important message from your side?
You made a good point earlier on in the podcast that startups innovation is kind of a fashionable, right? And it's very popular now.
Right.
And so, we see a lot of people, I want a startup. I want to do a startup because what do they see? They see, I don't know, Flipkart, right? They see Swiggy. They say, oh, the head of this Oyo, he just bought a brand new Maserati and he's spending time in Paris and all this, and very, very interesting. He's got crores of revenue and there's articles in the newspaper. Hey, this student from, XYZ town is now making 400 crore a month because he's such a great startup. And so you get people doing this. Fine. Don't start a startup because you think you're going to be a multimillionaire of crores. It could happen and we hope it happens. And hey, we'll help you try to make that happen. But that's not the reason you should be going into a startup. By the time you get to that point, if it works, we hope it does, the amount of time you will have spent working on this will be so much more than what you probably could have done in a regular company. So don't go into there thinking this is my way to make millions of rupees, even though it might be. What we tell entrepreneurs is you got to have this passion here to change the world. And it doesn't have to be a big way, but I firmly believe that every entrepreneur, if you're successful, it's because you're solving a problem for some customer and you've made the world a better place in some way. Now, you can also make money from this, and that's what we try to teach you how to do. But whether it's a social impact issue or whether it's a financial issue, whether it's a business issue, you are creating something that is better than how it is now. And this is what you should focus on. And you look around, we all look around, we see things in our world that aren't working the way they should be. Or you think, I can do better than this. That is what I want an entrepreneur to do. Because again, 6 months from now, and you're working as hard as you can, and you still haven't got those big customers yet, and you're down to your last 1,000 rupees, and how am I going to pay for this? Those are the times where you got to believe what you're doing and know that you're going to make a difference and have that confidence, not just in yourself, but in your vision and how your startup is going to be better for your customers. And if you're just in it because, hey, I was hoping I would have a 50 crore salary by now, you'll quit and go somewhere else. And the persistency of entrepreneurs, of knowing that what I'm doing matters and that this will be successful because the problem I'm solving is a big problem. That passion, that persistence, that is what you have to have from day one. So don't focus yet on the huge, sexy money and the trips and the cars and all that. Hopefully that will come. But it's going to start from the beginning of how are you improving the life of your customer? How are you solving that problem? So that makes that they will want to then give you their hard-earned rupees for your software, your service, your hardware that you are offering them. And if that's a right guess that you have made, then the growth will come and the partnerships will come and the funding will come. So that would be my number one advice to new startups, to new students that are thinking about this. Don't look at just the flashy ads and the newspaper articles about that. Focus on your customer and how you can do a better job for them that they will pay for.
That is some bitter truth for everyone who has to face, which is coming in this line. That is true, sir. So, coming down to the end of our podcast, sir, uh, we are highly obliged that, and we are highly uh, thankful to you that you have decided and you agreed to join us. You took out time from a busy schedule and you shared some important information and insights about startups, about business, about entrepreneurs, about the future. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. And I would wish that whosoever is watching this podcast will take some important points and will put into their ideas and will think twice before starting a business. So thank you
Well,
so much, sir.
thank you, Abid. I appreciate the invitation to be here and to speak to your audience.
So,
From those students, from those new startups, from people who are just interested in thinking about entrepreneurship. It's exciting, it's growing. There's a humongous amount of opportunity here in India. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to them and kind of let them know about the opportunities we have here. It's absolutely exciting. It's absolutely worth doing. If it's entrepreneurship is in your blood, once you get started in that, you will never go back to the regular life because you will have that belief in yourself. And we are very much a big believer in that and growing economically. So thank you for spreading the word. And we hope to see
pleasure.
all of your audience maybe applying to Nexus, and that we'll see you in the next cohort because doing great things for India and doing great things for the United States. So
I'm sure, sir, your next graduate is watching this podcast.
there you go. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Have a great day. Take care.
Perfect.
Bye, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.